Now that we've finished that general overview of what is cloud, let's talk a little bit about the key AWS services that are offered. These are Elastic Cloud Compute, also known as EC2, Elastic Block Storage, aka EBS, Simple Storage Service, or S3. Then there's a little to be said about the global infrastructure of AWS, the virtual private cloud, and security groups. So, Elastic Compute Cloud. I would say that this is like one of the main building blocks of an AWS solution, because you can think of it like computers being available to you to do whatever you want them to do. So if they're essentially like servers, um, in that, well, they can contain static files from which you can serve your content. They can be doing raw computation. For example, if you want to be running some sort of deep learning algorithm, and any other kind of thing that you can think of for a server, a game server. These are essentially the base, the base supporting tool that will use it. So, but a unique characteristic about them is that they are elastic. So as your resource requirements scales up or down, um, well, the EC2 will scale up and down so that you're not overpaying, and at the same time you're meeting your demand, um, which is really nice. Along with that, it's pay as you go, and of course, related to location, um, related to the customize, and of course, it's customizable. How powerful of a computer you want, what kind of software or operating system you want running on it, and where you want these computers to be hosted in the world in a way that will minimize latency for you and your customers. All right, so now I'm logged in here as myself in my AWS Management Console, and I'm going to launch an EC2. It says it should take 2 to 3 minutes. So this is exactly what I'm going to do. Everything on the console is very simple. Here you can see the Amazon machine image. So you can take a look at a lot of the different operating systems that are running here. So you have Linux, Red Hat. So notice that if you're doing something related to a database specifically, and as opposed to just a computer, then they recommend here um, using RDS, but we'll talk about that later. You have a Windows-based image, Ubuntu. So each one of these deep learning based AMI, so this one comes with a lot of very specific drivers and capabilities that are optimized for deep learning. One of the more simplest ones is free tier eligible, which means that you can try it out for free. All right, so let's pick this one right here. And again, you have some customization as far as the hardware goes. So the number of CPUs, virtual CPUs, memory, storage, performance. You can really scale this as much as you want. 72 cores, right? 512 gigabytes of memory. Jeez, what would you even need that for? 4 terabytes of memory? Is that a thing? How's that a thing? Jeez. We're gonna pick this general purpose one, kind of a low end, and we can go over here to the instance details. We can spin up many different instances of this. For example, we could do 10 or 100 or 1,000. Obviously, we'll just stick with one for right now. All of these, I'm just gonna leave as the default stuff. Although it may be useful in the future to know actually, and I guess they have some helpful tooltips here. Storage, it comes with a default root storage of 8 gigabytes on SSD. You can also add in another one. It'll be EBS, which is Elastic Block Store. Now I'm going to set this one to 16. And tags is pretty much the name. So let's call a name. So name, say, call it Omar AMI1. And then the security group. So by default, you can SSH on port 20 into your instance. You can also open it up and allow someone to access through HTTPS, right, or HTTP, and that kind of opens it up to the internet. I'm not gonna like mess with any new security groups, but we can do that later. It will allow all IP addresses to access your instance. And pretty much we're just opening this guy up to the whole world. So we're going to review it, and then we're going to launch. In order so you can SSH into your image, you have to generate a public key and a private key. I'm going to create a new pair. I don't have any key pairs here, so I'm going to create a new key pair. And I'm going to call it, and then I'm going to download it. So this downloaded to my downloads folder. I'm actually going to move it. So I'm going to move it over here to Cloud Basics. So there's demo1.pem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to launch this instance right here. Your instances are launching. You can actually see you're going through all the steps. But what we can do, so we go here to instances, we see that it's running, it's initializing. That means it's starting to get set up. And if we look right here, we can see all the information related to Omar AMI1. So it's public DNS. So we want to actually access this file right now, or we want to access this instance right now. So what we're going to do, I'm going to pull up Windows SSH client that's called PuTTY. In order to log in here, what we're going to do is we're going to copy this public DNS, and we're going to say EC2 user at EC2 user is the default name for Amazon Linux users. So of course we need to get that SSH key as well. So we get here, we'll go to authenticate, and we're going to go to AWS tutorials, Cloud Basics, and so it's looking for a PuTTY private key file, which we don't actually have, but what we do have is a PEM file. So we need to use actually another utility, which is PuTTyGen. So here's PuTTyGen. We're going to load an existing one. AWS tutorials. We're going to get this demo pen one. Okay. And then we're going to save a private key in the same file. Yes. So we're going to call it demo1.ppk. Save that. Okay, great. We're going to go back here to PuTTY, and we're going to get this ppk. Okay, great. And now we're back in our session, and when we open it, it should work. So sure enough, here you see that it used EC2 user, it used a public key, and now we're in here. Let's move on to the storage service which underlies these EC2 instances, which is called Elastic Block Store Service, or EBS. So you saw a little bit of this when I was setting up the EC2. What EBS does, just think about it like if the EC2 was a computer on the cloud that you can, a virtual computer on the cloud that you can customize and choose what kind of software and hardware it has. Well, the EBS is pretty much the hard drive for that virtual cloud computer. And similarly, you can choose whether it has spinning disk or whether it's SSD. If you wanted to, you can have it persist when the image gets shut down or even deleted. Point-in-time snapshots so that you can store it on, for example, S3 has plenty of encryption and security options. And of course, just like the other things with the word elastic in it, it can scale up and down based on your needs. Here I have my single EC2 instance, which is called Omar AMI1. I've got it through here. I can see what kind of volumes I have attached to this guy by going here to volumes and observing that, in fact, I have two. This was the one that I added when setting up my AMI, and this is the default one. An important thing here with EBS is that they are linked to a particular availability zone. So here I am in the Oregon availability zone. I can actually create an additional volume and I can attach it to this guy, and then we'll see that we can now store stuff in it. So I'll just make a small 1 gigabyte SSD. I'll put it in West 2B, and I'll add a tag. The name is Suite EBS1. All right, so we're just going to create it. And then if we refresh this, it should show us that there is Suite EBS1. It's available. It's not currently attached to anything. But what we can do is we can attach it. We can attach the volume to Omar AMI1. And what we can do here is we can link it. So the device that is going to be in our AMI will say dev/SDO. And we're going to attach it. When we go back to our terminal, we can go cd dev, and we'll do ls. And sure enough, you can see here that there is SDB and then SDO. Okay, so I just listed all the block stores on the image, and you can see here that there's the 8 and the 16 gigabytes, which is XVDA and XVDB, and here you can see the new one, which is XVDO, which is 1 gigabyte. And I can make this one a store using this mke2fs command dev/xvdo. So we can go ahead and turn that into actually a mounted folder using the sudo mnt command here in Linux, xvdo, and we'll call it mount. And so the nice thing that we have now is we go to and we can actually say hello AWS to serious? What the hell? The hell? Alright.
If we go to the /mnt folder, we have our file system. So we can create our files, our directories, our system.
All right, so for example, what we can do is you can say move that into a file, right? Okay, great. So you make a directory. And then we can, for example, move no.text to my folder. ls, here we have my folder. ls, my folder. We can see that note.txt is in my folder. Great.
Symbolic links, and everything that a storage block device gives the ability to us on doing. This is a text file. If I do an ls, now I can see my files there. I can create a directory. So you can see how easy it is. I can unmount the volume to the folder, and then I am able to go back to the AWS with the command unmount. I can unmount the volume to the folder, and then I am able.
Okay, so let's say we did what we needed and we added this my folder directory. We added this notes text over to our EBS store. Now what we can actually do is we can unmount our device, our block storage device.
T2 instance. At any time, I can go back here, and with the command unmount, I can unmount the volume to the.
Sorry, I meant umount. Oh. So you can get out of here. And what we can do is we can say umount mnt. All right. All right, and then we go umount mnt. No, why does it say target is busy? Damn it. Now I have to go here and figure out what's going on. Umount target is busy. Okay, so now we're going to do sudo umount mnt. No, man. The fuck, dude. Alright, what I couldn't do is I was not able to unmount this thing, so I'm gonna have to try again using putty. They have like a so now I'm over here at this guy. I'm gonna have to get this stuff again. I'm gonna have to save my session. EC2-user at this, and the auth is going to be this guy, and I'm gonna do Omar AMI1. I'm gonna save it, and we're going to open. All right. So we're back here, and we're going to do sudo umount mnt, and we just unmounted our EBS from this guy. So now we can go over here to our volumes. This guy says that it's in use, but you can also see what's on the volume. So we can create a snapshot of this volume. And we can create a snapshot. And then we can take a look at it. Just remove it, delete it. Let's delete the snapshot. All right. Anyway, we're going to go here to Suite EBS1, and we're going to detach it. Yes, detach. So now Suite EBS1 is no longer attached to Omar AMI1. And if we see here, it will say available rather than in use. So that is EBS. The next core AWS service is the Simple Storage Service. Now this is another storage service, kind of like EBS, but the reason it's different is because it's not tied to a particular instance of EC2. This is just a virtually unlimited object storage with eventual consistency. So think of it as external to your EC2 instances. It can be accessed directly through HTTP from any number of applications or terminals, and essentially, straightforward. It's storage service. Whether that's your application assets or your static web pages, whether you want to use it for backup and disaster recovery, for example, storing those snapshots of your EBS. It can also be a staging area for big data, and much more. The cool thing is with S3 is that your data is replicated across a region. That's why I said eventual consistency. So you don't really have to worry about one availability zone going down or anything like that. All right. Now, so how do you set up an S3? Here on the management console, go into services, S3, and we can see that we do not have any buckets. So let's create a new bucket right now. We'll call it Omar Demo Bucket. And then the region, right? So again, region is important. That my EC2 instance is in Oregon, so we're gonna keep that right there. I'm not gonna go through any of these options and stuff because I don't think any of them are relevant at the moment. So I'm just gonna go here and create. Great. So now I have Omar demo bucket. I can upload stuff into it. So let's just do that. Let's create a folder and say console folder. And then inside console folder, I'm going to upload just a file. Maybe I'll upload this image right here, PNG. Let's upload it. Cool. So I want to use the CLI to access this S3. So I have my bash open here. Okay, cool. So I have here this assets folder, which contains a text, also contains a folder, which contains some more stuff.
Hey guys, if you're still watching this, I'm just fast forwarding through this part because I was trying to figure out how to do it the way that they do it in the official course, but I could not figure out and I was very confused. And so, well, I pretty much gave up. But I'll try to cover some more of this stuff if I learn more about it, which I think I'll have to in order to pass the test. Yep, and then I pretty much gave up.
Okay, so the reason why this is not working is because I have not properly configured the AWS CLI yet. If I had it configured with my access key and all that, I would be able to copy stuff into here. Because I don't want to do that right now, honestly, because I haven't reached that part of the lesson. So suffice to say that this could be done from here, and then you could do something like this, which is done in the official training class. So you could copy things from my computer over to S3 here, and then I can also sync folders, and then I can also copy things from S3 to and from my EC2 instances, again using the CLI, which is pretty nice. Moving on. Global infrastructure. I think I've already covered this, but this is an important part of AWS. It's what makes it very nice for a corporation, large or small, that's trying to have a global footprint. So we talked about regions. Regions contain two or more availability zones. And in addition to the availability zones, there's also edge locations, which is something called CloudFront. And that is a way that Amazon allows your content to be as close as possible to your customers or anyone who's trying to access your app, essentially. These don't quite have the same properties as availability zones, but they provide their own special value. Here's an example, or here's a up-to-date map that shows, you can see here that there's way more edge locations than there are availability zones. So they're scattered all across the continent, Europe, more parts of Asia. Anyway, so the next thing here is virtual private cloud, or VPC. Now, essentially, this is a way of simulating the on-premise networking that many companies are used to and expect as far as secure networking goes. VPC gives you complete configuration powers over your network, whether that's the IP address subspaces or the subnets. It gives you multiple layers of security, such as routing rules, access rules, and the nice thing is that, well, once you have your VPC up and running, you can integrate other AWS services in quite a seamless way, and that can leverage the configuration that you set up. This is an example of a virtual private cloud. You can see here, this is the VPC. It encases, it's based in this region, this US West 2. and it contains two different subnets. One of them is private, which has no access to the outside world, and the other is public, which is going through this internet gateway through the internet. By default, subnets can communicate with each other, especially I think within the same availability zone. But here, this is a specially set up thing. Okay, so what are security groups? Filter traffic to your instances. An instance can be completely public, private, or somewhere in the middle. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it, dude. Let's get on with the freaking demo, dude. Okay, security groups. So what I'm going to do is I go to services, then EC2. And then I can look at my instances. And here's Omar and I. Go down here to networking security and look at security groups. At that point, I have the security group that I got from my first EC2 group that I created, right? And then this is the default one. So I can create a new security group and I can call it description. By default, in security groups, all inbound traffic is blocked and all outbound traffic is allowed, because we're going to allow more inbound traffic by clicking add rule. And what we want is we want anyone to be able to connect with HTTPS. Just going to use the default stuff here.
And just like our previous example, we want to allow HTTP and HTTPS traffic. For type, I select HTTP. For source, I have again the 0000/0, which represents all IP addresses. I want to allow the entire internet. We also have the equivalent for IPv6. I add the HTTP rule, and I have one more rule to add, HTTPS. Again, I want to allow the entire internet on port 443. Now I can go ahead and click create. And now you can see our new web server security group has been created. AWS provides virtual firewalls that can control traffic for one or more instances called security groups.
Better content than
you can control the network accessibility to your instances by creating security group rules. Designing good security groups is necessary for security compliance. Security compliance will be covered in further detail later in this training.
I don't even know how you could use that. You can use a CLI to show your credentials that you're in that security group, and then you could like access all the different like stores. You could like access all the different like, and what kind of permissions you have. I like that. I like that a lot. All right, guys. So I just want to give you a kind of a timeline of where I see this AWS video series going in comparison, to my career as well. But so this current video and maybe about 4 more will kind of cover the basics of the AWS, and then it'll be time to just drill down specifically on what the test is asking of you with regards to AWS. So that involves going up study guides and practice problems. Then I'm going to go for my Cloud Practitioner exam. All goes well and I do end up getting it. Then I'll try to apply what I learned towards actually creating some projects and putting them on GitHub. Afterwards, think I'll be in business. I've generated enough good content, start maybe monetizing on my skills a little bit. The thing that I want to learn most about in AWS is the EMR. Elastic MapReduce, because that actually allows you to use Spark, which is like a great distributed scale-up system that can like respond dynamically to loads. So you can like scale up your EC2 instances to give maximal computation to your Spark jobs. If you're running on such massive scale and you can scale up infinitely, then you give your machine learning algorithms much more to play with, much more ways to improve using multi-core. if you could extract all the computing power from all those cores such that they scale up horizontally and vertically. But yes, but of course. That's my homework for maybe the next few weeks. If you like my content or if you have any suggestions for improvement, you know what you can do. And if you want to see more, you can also subscribe. Good luck, all you AWS practitioners.